Hey y'all. So if you're like me, you really like to know what's coming ahead, right? It kind of eases your brain and it gets rid of all that anxiety, just really helps with that anxiety. So I'm gonna try to help you out. What can you expect from the class that is forensic science? Well, first off, we are going to be talking about stories of famous crimes. Most of the time, and I'll mention this later, um, these stories are going to come at the end of the lesson. They can tend to be a little gruesome. They can tend to be of mature content. And I rather just give you the option to listen to them. They are not going to be a requirement. Okay, so I'm making sure that they are not a requirement, and you technically can just choose to skip them if you want. Okay, but honestly, last year, and if you feel up to the challenge, um, last year, I feel like a lot of the students enjoyed them. Again, not every student enjoyed them. Not every student enjoyed every story. Okay. Some of these stories you may already know, some of them you may have never heard or even thought about. Okay. Science is a big part of forensic science. So if you see us talking about some sort of science and you're like, Mr. B, what is this? Guess what, y'all? Forensic science. Science is technically in forensic science. Crazy, right? Be like my man, Jesse Pinkman. Yes, science. It's going to be exciting. Ideally, we could do a lot of experiments, but we're going to try to figure out how can we do these experiments in distance learning. But we'll see how science ties into criminal investigation. That's the cool part. Okay, you get to use it. You get to use it and figure out, well, what is it going to tell us? What can science tell us about criminals? What can science tell us about the law? What can science tell us about certain crimes? Forensic science, the law, and social reform. As I was kind of mentioning, forensic science ties pretty closely to the law, to the criminal justice system, and it also, I feel like, ties really well to social reform, right? The law is not perfect, which means forensic science is not perfect, which means we need to reform it. We need to make it better. We need to avoid what's known as a prison industrial complex. You'll learn about more about that later. But more importantly, this forensic science is used to solve crimes. And it's important to know how it can be ignored or misused if it is in, if it's used incorrectly. Okay, it's important. A lot of people are imperfect, right? And they control a lot of the science here. So again, we got to be very careful with it, y'all.